In today's video, we're going to be walking through a care guide on the Denison barb, also known as the Roseline shark or the torpedo barb. It's an awesome schooling fish. It's one of my favorite non-cichlids in the hobby today, and I'm looking forward to talking more about it. So let's dive right in. So I currently have 7 Denison barbs in my 150-gallon aquarium. They are incredible schooling fish and one of my absolute favorites in the hobby. The Denison barb has multiple nicknames such as the Roseline shark or the torpedo barb, and sometimes you'll see them labeled as such in your local fish stores. These fish were introduced into the aquarium hobby relatively recently, within the last 40 or 50 years, and now that they've been captively bred more often, they have been more widespread in the hobby, and most local fish stores will have them now because the demand for them is very high. Not only are they an awesome schooling fish with some beautiful coloration, they're also a peaceful fish, and because of all those reasons, they can be relatively expensive. So first, let's talk about the coloration of the Denison barb. You'll notice that they have a torpedo-like body with some silver, black, red, and yellow coloration. This is one of the reasons they are so sought after in the hobby today, is because of that mix of coloration. They have silver coloration along their body with a black stripe that goes end to end, and then a red stripe going parallel to the black line that goes from the nose to about midway through the body. It also has some red in the dorsal fin and some yellow and black stripes in its caudal fin, making it just an incredible combination of colors. Denison barbs are very active swimmers, so you will want a sizable tank for them. They can also reach up to 6 inches in length, so when you combine that size with their active swimming behavior, I think you're looking at a 75-gallon as a bare minimum tank size for these guys. And because they are schooling fish, you'll want more than 6 anytime you're keeping them. I think if you keep less than 6, a lot of their natural behaviors won't be present, and they might be shy, stressed out, and just generally not as healthy as they should be. But if you have that school of 6 or more, it can just be an incredible fish to watch swim back and forth in your tank. I have a school of 7 in my 150, and I would actually like to add a little bit more to this group because they're just so fun to watch. So you have your 75-gallon or higher for these guys, and you're ready to set up your tank. What do you put in it? They originate from Asia in some fast-flowing rivers and streams, specifically within India. So their natural environment is going to be more of your river and stream setup. So I would usually go with sand, plenty of rocks. They can do really well with live plants as their natural environment has dense vegetation, and you could also add some driftwood in there as well. But I think having live plants with Denison barb is a perfect combination. They won't destroy or eat your live plants, and their color contrasts very well with the green coming in from your plants. Plants will also help oxygenate your water, and that is one thing to keep in mind with the Denison barb, is that since they are such active swimmers, you will want some flow in your tank and maybe some oxygenated water, so I think a wave maker is essential when it comes to keeping them. Having strong filtration is definitely a good thing, but combining that with a wave maker angled up towards your surface to provide some surface agitation in your tank will go a long way in making your Denison barb comfortable in their tank. And because Denison barbs are such active swimmers, they actually can be very good dither fish for some of your cichlids out there or other bigger fish. Dither fish are usually smaller or schooling fish that swim back and forth in their tank, and some of the other fish in the tank see them swimming around and know that everything's safe and that they can come out of hiding as well. That's why they're such a good tank mate for some of your more peaceful American cichlids. I have them in this 150-gallon aquarium with some peaceful South American cichlids. I think they could definitely go with things like your apistogramma, your angelfish, some of your geophagus species would be perfect, and then even things like your electric blue acara, your Severums, and even some of the Central American cichlids in the right setup. Something like a convict, firemouth, or Jack Dempsey could be a little too aggressive for it, but usually they'll be okay, especially if you have a big enough tank. But outside of cichlids, Denison barbs are a perfect community fish. If you have other barbs in the tank like tiger barbs, or if you have a lot of tetras, they would definitely coexist well. A few other ideal tank mates would be plecos, corydoras, anything that's scavenging at the bottom of the tank. I really like Denison barbs with things like your gourami or your clown loach. That would make for a really good region-specific tank. But overall, they're very versatile when it comes to your tank mates, as long as they have a big enough tank. And I would just avoid some of your very aggressive African cichlids or some of your larger aggressive Central Americans or South Americans. And then when it comes to feeding the Denison barb, they're definitely not a picky eater. They are omnivores, so they'll basically eat anything. I would just recommend some high quality pellets and flake food. I feed mine different pellets and flakes from Extreme, and that's a really good brand. And then I mix in some frozen foods like brine shrimp and bloodworms, usually for my cichlids, but the Denison Barbs will readily accept that food as well. I just think that varied, well-rounded diet is perfect for the Denison Barb, and they'll be totally happy in that situation. Then when it comes to breeding the Denison Barb, it is very unlikely that they will breed in the home aquarium. Usually they need a very big tank for that to happen. And it can be really tricky telling the males apart from the females since they look exactly alike. The females might have a little bit bigger bodies and more gray coloration, but it's really hard to tell. I actually can't really identify it myself. But if you are attempting to breed them, some of the ideal tank parameters for them is the temperature range anywhere from your lower 70s to upper 70s. I wouldn't recommend them anything over 80 degrees since they typically wouldn't encounter that in their natural environment. Their pH can be a wide range in your 6s and 7s. Water hardness can be relatively medium. Overall, I think they're very adaptable to any of those water parameters, so as long as you don't have anything extreme going on in your tank, you should be just fine. I would just be more focused on your ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate, making sure that all three of those levels are minimal in your tank. Making sure you have a cycled tank with no ammonia and nitrite is very important for these guys. I think they are pretty hardy, but if you do have ammonia in your tank, that could lead to issues like almost any other fish. But in summary, the Denison Barb is an amazing fish. It's one of my absolute favorites. As long as you have a sizable tank, you keep them in a group of 6 or more, you have plenty of water movement and oxygenation in your water, and you keep up with your general maintenance and water change schedule, you should have no issues keeping them. They're an amazing fish, and I think they can go in many different tank setups, and they can be a very rewarding fish to keep. And although me and my brothers focus heavily on cichlid keeping, this is one of my favorite non-cichlids in the hobby. It's an awesome schooling fish with some of the best color you'll find, and that's why I would definitely recommend checking out the Denison Barb. So I hope you found that information helpful. If there are any other fish out there, cichlid or non-cichlid, you would like to see a care guide on, make sure to leave that down in the comment section below. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.